Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you can hear my voice. Hope you can see the screen. If you are, just let us know. That helps. It's always a good start to be able to do this properly. As it is, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Daily market update for Wednesday, 3rd of June, 2020. As always, this is for those of you joining us for the first time, it's a quick 20-25 minute flit through what's been going on in the last 24 hours. A few stocks and sectors that might be just of a curiosity or of an interest to us. And then a quick look to see, what, if anything, might be setting up in the US session across like indices and FX pairs. As always, the all information provided is for educational purposes only. Trading on margin carries a high level of risk, and you should be aware of all the risks associated with margin trading. So where did I start today? Here we go. Started with McDonald's here, okay? So it's an interesting one. So why am I bringing up McDonald's? Well, I'm sure none of you would ever dare dream eating a McDonald's. I'm sure you're all the perfect athletes in your own way. But curiously, I've had a couple of people contacting me over the last day or two. One of the friends telling me that yesterday there was a bit of a crash, big car crash up here in the northwest because one of the roads was hugely backed up. And why was that backed up? Well, it was because McDonald's opened their restaurant on the limb services on the M6, and that caused a huge backlog and crashes there because people were queuing up to try and get into McDonald's. And then locally today, I had a friend call this morning, and she couldn't get into her Sainsbury's because it's all gated off because the accompanying McDonald's is getting ready for to open tomorrow, and they're expecting such a surge of people coming in that they've had to take over like a third of the car park just to basically to gate it up. She said it's more like trying to get into a rock concert than anything else. So as a grander scheme or as a grander conversation, that's it's a rather disappointing insight into the state of the nation, that they're desperate to get to a McDonald's, but that's a different conversation for a different day. But what it does do is maybe give us an idea that there is perhaps a good deal of pent-up demand for suppliers of such unnutritious fast food and their accompaniments. But if we look at the share price here, okay, as always, I'm not an equity specialist, I'm just a trader, just looking what I see. You can see that, right, from up being around about 216, 217 pre-COVID. Let's get the old tool out. Is that effectively, it had the COVID crash and the drop like it did, like everything else. Not as much as a pronounced double bottom as we saw in the others, but once it broke above 170, and you can see it's just been drifting its way up there, 190, okay, which is where we had lows here, okay, and we had a gap there. 190's acted as a bit of resistance, but hopefully you can see, even though we had a bit of a bearish candle here, the last week or so, it's just been almost like in a range of consolidation, and you have to wonder, as I said, is there going to be that kind of pent-up demand that won't affect, probably might save Q2's numbers for McDonald's when they come to do it, but it would just be an indication of people coming back out, what people are going to spend on. The fact that they would sooner spend it on a McFlurry rather than some sports kit is, as I say, is a rather a damning insight into the state of the nation. But ultimately, what do we care? It's just traders, and we trade what we see. So I'd be keeping an eye on that 190 level where we are at the moment. That's kind of kind of an interesting level. Lots going on there, and we'll see whether that all that pent-up demand demonstrates itself into the share price as it pops up back up. And and if it does, let's face it, I could see easily getting back up above sort of at 205 and back into that 205 to 215 range. Clearly, although the world is going to change, people are still going to buy McDonald's. So come on, what get them. Anyway, so there you go. That was at McDonald's. Something a bit, as I said, something a little bit different. Here's the next one, a bit of interest, Tesla. I mean, we've looked at Tesla on and off over the last few months of these daily lockdown market updates, and I'm kind of curious, interested in it. It's a how would I describe it? It's a case of here we go. It's you can see yourself, all right. We've talked about these this kind of price and sort of price movements, okay, pretty much over the last couple of months. All right, nice double bottom, and it has been let's just get this back let's get that back in. My apologies. We were on to Tesla. Sorry, getting ahead of myself there. Apologies. That's what happens when you're kind of all fingers and thumbs. But yeah, Tesla. He launched his little rocket, and you know, whilst I'm not a particular fan of the man, okay, I think he's a bit like I think he's personally a bit like you know, Branson and stuff. I think he's going to be found out to be a bit of a myth. The truth of the matter is, you know, they've managed something quite achievable, you know, quite outstanding in terms of getting people to the International Space Station. So, you know, that has had a knock-on impact there. Okay, he was up at 888, which is a very you know, it's a very lucky number for the very lucky number for the Asians. It wasn't so much for your man who brought down Barings Bank. That was the name of his account, Nick Leeson. It was the 888 account, I think, something along those lines. So let's hope it's a bit more lucky for Elon. But yeah, it's popped up. Okay, we've had a pop up this week. Okay, we'll see, interested to see what it'll happen with pre-market here. But you know, it's getting back at those. It's getting back at those highs up to 920, 960. Yeah, think of it what you may. You know, that's you know, fighting the price on this is a pretty pointless endeavor at the moment. Sorry, and now we can look at Alphabet or Google. Okay, so you know, just looking at tech companies, you know, and you've heard me talk about this when we've looked at NASDAQ before, about how, you know, NASDAQ has been pretty much dragging the world higher, certainly the US indices higher, based on, you know, kind of money flooding into some of those big US tech companies, you know, Alphabet, you know, being one of them. And you can see for yourself, all right, okay, you know, from being down at you know, being down at 1,000, okay, all right, so from being down there to cracking up to 1442, all right, where we're just there, just at the edge of this gap here. Okay, I'm kind of curious to see, is it gonna pop and fill through that? If you look at the news today, there's talk about you know, sort of Google becoming under a bit of scrutiny, okay, as basically as governments look at the privacy and security, but also governments start looking at ways that they are going to have to extract tax from these companies, you know, in an effort to pay for these massive social aid programs that they have been deploying. So yeah, it's banging up against, you know, that kind of 1450 level. You have to see, is it going to pop and fill that gap? And the truth being is, if it filled that gap, I'd be expecting it, kind of the magnet, to sort of drag it back up to 1525 anyway. So you know, that's what I'd be looking at on the positive side. The other side of me, the kind of contrarian side of me, would be looking at, well, okay, do we get you know, a big rejection candle here before we take a bit of, and there's a lot of people taking profit off the post-COVID crash run. But yeah, there you go. Keep an eye and watch. I'll see how that reacts there, up towards around about 1450. And who's putting finally GVC. Okay, so would anybody in here know who GVC are? Know what they actually bring to the party? Don't worry, I wouldn't necessarily expect you, if you do. Some of you, normally Mike's here, I'd expect him to know. But why are we looking at these guys anyway? Well, the first story is that, you know, the kind of rumors are that you know, FTSE 100 is going to be it's going to be, what's the correct word for it this week? It'll be it's effectively redrawn, okay, when it happens on a quarterly basis. And of course, we're going to see some changes of that based upon the share prices of some of those companies. So I think the rumors are that, like, Centrica are going to drop out, but EasyJet as well, they're pretty much bang on to drop out. And we've looked at EasyJet 4 or 5 times over the last few months, okay, and talked about them. But so yeah, EasyJet going to be looking to be dropped out, and the rumors are that they'll be replaced by this company, GVC Holdings. So if you don't know who GVC are, GVC, they are Isle of Man based. They are a gambling company. Okay, so they are basically a big holding company so they own like big betting high street. I think they're the biggest high street betting company in the UK, right? Because they own Coral, Ladbrokes, who else? Sporting Bet, Gala Bingo, Foxy Bingo, which I'm sure all of my trader clients who are on there all the time playing Foxy Bingo. But anyway, you know, it's a big gambling company, and invariably, as you can see, COVID hasn't been that bad for a gambling company, isn't it? Lots of people sat at home, a bit bored, a bit stressed, a bit frustrated. You know, can't go to their can't go put a bet on the sports. Well, do you know what? Maybe I'll be just playing a little bit of online poker or a bit of online gambling of whatever is available to be betted on. So you can see that, it had the drop. Okay, all right, let's just have had a nice kind of a drop there from, into there about 920 to 950, down to like 285, and it's yeah, you had your drop, and now it's now I'd be looking at that as, it's a bit of a still, kind of going up in a bit of a rising wedge there. I apologize, as I always say, I'm a better trader than I am an artist, but you get the impression, you understand what I'm looking at, and we're just seeing as there, aren't we? We're just kind of dropping off, and then you'd have to be looking at, well, if this does get a bump up from the FTSE 250 into the FTSE 100, well, then it will go into automatically it will go into certain like funds, certain pension companies. They'll be forced to buy just because of because of the limits of that particular fund might be that they are FTSE 100 companies, okay, that they can only invest in. So as EasyJet drops out, they have to ditch that holdings and then basically shift into companies in there. And GVC betting company, I think once they're in there, I suspect they'll probably likely to stay and stuff. So have a look at that, how their share price reacts this week if news of that is confirmed for you. So there you go. There's a few shares there and stock sectors to have a little look at, bit of curiosity. As always, if there's something you want me to have a look at or interest me to have a look at, then drop me a line. I'm happy to do that. In the meantime, let's move on to move on to looking at some of the indices and FX pairs. Let's bring this back up. There you go. Hopefully you can still all see me. Hopefully you can still all hear me there. So this is US indices. Okay, so let's just move this out of the way. Here we go. So Dow 1 hour chart. Okay, Russell 1 hour chart. Okay, bottom left is Nasdaq 1 hour chart. Bottom right, S&P 500 1 hour chart. Those of you who've been here with me for the last week or so, 10 days, we've just been talking about it. It's a risk on mentality. Okay, we're seeing that across the board. Whatever your views or dreams are, the truth of the matter is, at the moment, risk sentiment is most definitely on. And as I said at the end of last week and end of last month and stuff about, Dow closing above 25,000. All right, the S&P 500 closing above 3,000. Okay, Nasdaq getting back up towards its highs. That's all bullish. All right, that's all bullish. And if we just quickly look at the sort of the Dow here for yesterday on the hourly chart. Let's just bring this up here. Okay, yeah, yesterday's action was, we had a big push as into the end we had a bit of a messing around, but then we had that final push away. Okay, and I thought we might actually, once we got back into this region, we might have another bit of a rollover, but you can see in the kind of overnight electronic contract, right, it's not happening. Okay, Asia was good, Europe was good. We'll look at, and we can see that America at the moment is rallying up for at least for a bullish start to its session. So and even Nasdaq, okay, which had a pretty good sell off there. Okay, pretty good sell off there. They still pushed its way back up. Okay, so it didn't close. It had a bullish close. It wasn't bullish on the day, but it was a bullish close, and it's drifting its way up there. So yeah, there's still positivity, still that risk on mentality at the moment, and that that was through Asia, but also if we look at the European indices this morning, this just shows up here, is that we'll see that even the European indices, they were all everything was a bit jolly hockey sticks. Okay, all very bullish. Looking at DAX this morning. Okay, you can see there yourself. All right, that's been in a uptrend, and if you think about this, it's only like a couple of weeks ago we got above 11,000, and I said, it needs to close above 11,000. Okay, on daily, weekly, and monthly to give us a thing, and then we'd get towards 12 as well. Bosh, we careered through 12,000 right yesterday, and now we're up at what 12,280 today. All right, that's that's bullish. All right, there's you can look at it whatever way you want. That's bullish. We're at the daily 200. All right, so I'd be watching to see can we get above it and close above it and hold above it. And if that happens, well then you're looking at your next level here around about 1288 to 12,880. So yeah, but you can see that the world has gone bullish. That's it. That's the way. And you can see here, this is the CAC 1 hour CAC. Yep. All bullish, even the IBEX. Okay, and I think Spanish services numbers came out this morning. They were pretty dreadful, but it hasn't stopped Spain. IBEX sort of nudging its way. Swiss and the Italians as well. They've gone up as well. Even the FTSE, although it looks like it's come off in the last hour or so, but and the Euro Stoxx 50 has gone. So it's risk on, bullish sentiment. That's what we're looking at in the indices. If we go across to the FX pairs, so we have seen. I think we looked yesterday at Aussie. And Aussie's had a real great run, and tagging off the back of that has been Kiwi dollar. Kiwi dollar's had a pretty good run recently, and if we look at this, these are the Kiwi profile for our charts. I've got Kiwi dollar here. I've got pound against New Zealand dollar, New Zealand against Canadian dollar. Okay, we've had New Zealand against Swiss franc. Aussie against New Zealand dollar, Euro against the New Zealand dollar, and New Zealand dollar against Japanese yen. And the kind of ones that are of real interest to me are Kiwi against Japanese yen. Right, what you can see there is just take that off there. Is that we can see is that that's just really just been in a fine run there, hasn't it? Just absolutely fine run. That's that is just all it's doing is confirming that risk on mentality. All right, and we'll look at Japanese yen in a moment, but you can see that for the last last 2-3 weeks from 63.50 we're up at now 69.50. All right, we've done 600 pips there in Kiwi yen. All right, that's quite some astounding move, and that's what's been amazing this week. And the same goes for Kiwi against the Swiss franc. All right, yen and Swiss franc, they have been the risk-off currencies, but once again, all right, from down at 57.50 to 61.50. All right, okay. So there's been a 400-point run there, okay, on Kiwi against Swiss franc. All right, risk is definitely on, brother. Whatever you think about it, risk has been on, and that reflects in that how like but pound against New Zealand dollar has dipped, has been on a dip, as has the euro against the New Zealand dollar. All right, it's been definitely kind of a little bit of a risk on mentality, and that's just confirmed. If we look at let's have a look at Japanese yen. All right, if we look at Japanese yen, what we can see there, okay, these are Japanese yen profile 4 hours. So I've got pound against yen, euro against yen, Aussie against yen, CAD against yen, dollar against yen, Swiss franc against yen, and Kiwi against yen, and then also there's the Nikkei as well. Okay, so the Nikkei there. Look at that. Those charts speak for yourself. Okay, this week has been risk on week, just dumping yen. All right, people have been dumping yen. Okay, reversing out of risk off and into risk on. Now, admittedly, if we look over the last sort of 12 hours, it's looking like the party might be taking a breather, taking Aussie yen in particular has been racing up, and if we look at Swiss yen, okay, there's a bit of interest there, but the trend has been pretty significant there. Okay, the trend has been pretty significant. That is just confirming that so far this week it has been a risk on sentiment. Last two, we'll do dollar and sterling as always. So US dollar, here we go. Look at this. All right, dollar index. Okay, if you're going to be trading FX, you need to know what's going on here. That is a 4 hour, very nice trend on the dollar index. Okay, seems to be hovering around about 97.50 at the moment. Okay, it's just been moving down nicely, but as we've had a few pumps and dumps on that, it's all right. That has had a knock-on impact on all of the other major pairs against the US dollar. Okay, so here we go. Let's just put us into now. If you remember yesterday, I was talking about the dollar yen being absolutely dull and boring, and it needed to break out. Well, it was very nice. The market actually listened to my commentary, and having said we had just had it really in a tight range, boom, we were out of that range. Okay, and that's just another confirmation of this of this yen weakness. Okay, that we're seeing. All right, so it was literally a case of yesterday afternoon, bosh, here we go. All right, just we're breaking out of that, and away we go. And interesting, we're that. Some people might look at that as a bit of head and shoulders there, but certainly on the kind of that daily thing, we're above, and we're closing up above that, and that's pretty significant. Let's see if we can stay above that 200 period, and that will give us an indication of just further yen weakness, even against a very, very weak dollar. Let's finish off with sterling as normal. Okay, so it's still that kind of an interesting mixed picture on sterling. So We had yesterday, here's cable. All right, cable's been in that uptrend for the last week. Okay, I was looking at it here yesterday afternoon into the evening session, thinking, have we had a bit of a double top here? Are we going to get a rollover? And well, I'm glad I didn't go short, because actually, we went up and we've actually put in another double top here. Okay, and the price action's a bit scrappy there, so I'm going to be watching that this afternoon to see what it does. Will it roll over back to the 50, or is it just going to sucker the bears in before it pops again? All right, so yeah, I'll be keeping an eye on that this afternoon. Euro sterling, okay, so after the real big good falls there, okay, on euro sterling, overnight, it's kind of almost like we had kind of final push down, a bit of a profit release on news, all right, a bit of a higher low there, and you have to wonder, is that a double bottom there? Are we going to get a little bit, maybe a bit of euro strength this afternoon? Pound yen, all right, okay, so Bosch, look at that, pound against the yen. But even there, look at that. Is that a midweek reversal happening? Is that a double top midweek reversal happening? That's what we need to just be aware of. Just keep an eye on that for this afternoon. And even the kind of pound against the Aussie, which has been one-way traffic for a while. This morning, we actually had a bit of a reversal there. Okay, a bit of a is that a kind of, as I say, a bit of maybe a midweek reversal going on there with in terms of sterling. And yeah, and even FTSE this week, okay, has just been grinding its way north, like the rest of those indices. All right, so there you go, ladies and gentlemen. As always, a bit of a fast and furious short sprint through a fair few things, just to give you some curiosities and interest, help you make sense of what's been going on in the markets. So as always, if you're trading this afternoon session, I wish you the best of luck in your own trading endeavors. Just make sure you're managing risk as always, first and foremost, and we'll be back here tomorrow, okay, as always, same time, same place, same link, okay, and you're very welcome. And okay, thanks for that, Tom. I'll take a look. I'll add to that, and we'll have a look at that tomorrow for you, Tom. Okay, super. Thanks for that. Great. All right. Good luck, everyone, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Cheers.